Well, if you're up late, it's past 10 o'clock. It may be past some of your bedtimes, although it is Friday night. You might be out, but it's Arkansas Razorbacks, the 14th ranked Hogs. 86, Gardner-Webb 68. Arkansas is now 2-0. Monday, Friday game in the opening week of college basketball. This is what we expected of the Razorbacks. A couple of home games. If you had SEC Network Plus or ESPN Plus, you got to watch this game. A slow start for the Razorbacks. Things ended up working out. Arkansas builds a 26-point lead in the second half. But it wasn't easy early. 13-5 was the deficit for the Razorbacks. I thought Gardner-Webb took the fight to Arkansas for the opening tip, actually scored right off the opening tip going to the basket. Arkansas had a hard time containing those drives early. And on the defensive end, Gardner-Webb stayed in front of their man. And again, 13-5, Arkansas started chipping away. The game was back and forth for a little bit, tied at 20 all. Then it was 31-29 Gardner-Webb. Arkansas closes the first half on a 19-5 run. Cliff Battle, Arkansas's leading scorer again, once again with 21 points, 13 first half points, but 10 points in that 19-5 decisive run. Arkansas goes up by 12 at halftime, and they just added on to that lead early in the second half. Again, I think they had like 3 different 23-point leads. They go from 23 down to 20, back to 23. Eventually, Arkansas got it up as much as 26. Eric Melson ends up emptying his bench. 10 players played in the first half. All 12 who were available on scholarship tonight played. Both walk-ons. Layden Blocker was not in the arena tonight. He was ill. Eric Melsman addressed that with the media in the post-game press conference. So Blocker didn't play, wasn't on the bench tonight, wasn't in the arena. He was had an illness today. He did practice yesterday. But again, Arkansas, Melsman ends up playing everybody. In the end, Gardner-Webb, Arkansas missed some free throws late in the game. Had some problems throughout the game at times at the free throw line. But Gardner-Webb's able to close within 18 points in a final margin. Look, the biggest thing going on here in this game tonight was Arkansas's block party. 15-0 was the margin in block shots. Trevor Brazil led the way there, the star sophomore forward with 5. Makai Mitchell, who had a splendid game off the bench, 4 blocks. 7 Hogs ended up getting blocks. The 15 block shots in this game are the most ever by an Eric Melsman coach team now that he's in his 9th season as a college head coach. Pretty significant because there wasn't really, other than field goal shooting percentages, 3-point shooting percentages, other than those things, Arkansas didn't really dominate any aspect of this game. When you start looking at it, this is going to seem fairly even. We're going to get into the areas. We talked about the block shots. That was domination. Arkansas had been collecting through exhibition season in their last game, double digits in steals. Tonight, Arkansas was doubled up in the steal department, more than doubled up, 9-4 advantage Gardner-Webb. Again, the 15-0 advantage in blocks was really probably had a lot to do while Gardner-Webb shot as poorly as it did. 25 of 72, 34.7%, 6 of 23 from 3. That's 26.1%. And Gardner-Webb wasn't very good. The running Bulldogs only 57.1% at the free throw line, 12 of 21. Arkansas 30 of 60 overall from the field, 50%. That was around 52% at halftime. Again, the bench was emptied out. A lot of the key guys were out in that fourth quarter, the last 10 minutes. Arkansas 7 of 18 from 3, nearly 39% after shooting 40%. The previous game, 7 of 18 behind the arc. So made 1 more than Gardner-Webb did and took 5 fewer. Razorbacks 19 of 31 at the foul line, only 61%. That's not going to cut it on most nights in a game like this. This could have been a 30-point win. Arkansas been a little bit at the free throw line. We talked about blocks and steals. There were no blowouts, though. Arkansas plus 6 on the glass overall. But they were rebounding a lot of the Gardner-Webb's missed shots. Arkansas got beat on the offensive glass, though. 11-7, a -4 there. Second chance points. Gardner-Webb doubled up Arkansas 14-7. The big other area where Arkansas has a huge advantage because of Caleb Battle, who we just talked about. 21 points for the second game in a row. But Arkansas's bench 40-19. Other guys helped out. Joseph Pinion came off the bench. He was the 10th guy to play in the first half for Arkansas. And he came in and had 5 consecutive points for the Hogs. Had a little pull-up mid-range shot, ran baseline, and Makai Mitchell threaded the needle for a backdoor dunk. Running baseline into that dunker spot where he catches the pass and goes up and dunks it. We saw some of that in the preseason, and then he had 1 of 2 free throws. By the way, that missed free throw for Pinion, his first of those 2 that he got, that was his first missed free throw as an Arkansas Razorback, I believe. I know he didn't miss as a freshman, and I don't think he'd missed in the previous game. I need to go back and look at that, but it's the first one that I remember. Pinion missing. Small sample size in terms of how many he's taken, but still, Arkansas on a night where, even Caleb Battle shooting 80%, 8 of 10, that's about 10 points below what his percentage was coming into this game, what he shot last year at Temple. You'll take the 8 of 10, especially that volume, but look at the rest of what Battle did. I mentioned 21 points, 4 rebounds. He had an assist, but 5 of 9 from the field. Very efficient game for him. Made 3 triples in this game, and I mentioned the 8 of 10 at the foul line. And Musselman talked about this in the postgame. Musselman, by the way, did not seem pleased with his team's performance. Not just the poor start, but I think there was a lot of things they had game planned and worked on to take away from Gardner-Webb, and he felt like Gardner-Webb did a lot of the things it wanted to do. And I went through some of these stats and some of these, areas where Arkansas didn't even win some of it on the offensive glass, second chance points. The steal department got more than doubled up, didn't get many. This wasn't a big turnover game for either team. I mean, that was pretty close. Points off turnovers were competitive. So Arkansas really, the big difference to me were the block shots, the shooting disparities. One team shoots less than 35%, the other one right at 50. Nearly 39% from 3, the other team 26%. Both of them were poor at the free throw line, but Arkansas was a little bit better there, not only on how many, took 10 more, but made 7 more. So when you look at the shooting and the block shots, those were all advantage Arkansas. Everything else was kind of even though this was a game, again, Arkansas, I think, had they not played everybody, might have won this one by 30, but that's the path Musselman chose. He's still looking at different guys. Chandler Lawson started again and got in foul trouble. He started the game, had a mid-range shot to give Arkansas its first bucket. Had an offensive rebound in there, started off okay, but he picked up 2 quick fouls and was out. Mekhi Mitchell comes in, gets a rim run for a transition layup, makes 1 or 2 free throws. But what I noticed about Mekhi tonight, some of the passes he made, he had a couple of assists. I mentioned the one to Penny, he had another one for a cutter. He's really good at that, timing those things up when he's got the ball elbow or higher. The other thing he does really well and what other guys seem to thrive in is 2-man game with him, whether it's dribble handoff or setting a pick. Guys get into their spots, and they seem to have a fluidity with him working in 2-man game. Musselman talks about that from time to time, and I thought Mitchell's impact, those 4 blocks, second to Brazil, but just every little thing he did out there. I think he had Mekhi also had 5 rebounds to go with 5 points. So I mentioned the 3 early points when he checked in for Lawson. A lot of folks in here, by the way, Bud Walton Arena, it's late. They are working. They are getting this place cleaned up. There's 2 games here today. The women won earlier today, the Arkansas women's basketball team, the men later, but it's been an all-day affair here at Bud Walton Arena. Basically a doubleheader, and a lot of folks in here working right now, walking by, so I'm acknowledging some of those folks. But Arkansas, again, 2-0. This is where you want to be going into week 2 of the season. Arkansas has a quick turnaround, a Monday game against Old Dominion, and then Friday it'll be against North Carolina Greensboro, a team that really gave Arkansas fits last year. It was a game where Brazil went down with injury early, 9th game of the year, early December. So you had a Monday, Friday to open your season. You're going to have another Monday, Friday in week 2. Then you're off to the Bahamas for the Battle for Atlantis. 3 games in 3 days over the Thanksgiving holiday during that part of the week. Then Arkansas comes home for the end of November to host Duke in the first ACC-SEC Challenge. So you've got half of your 4 home games to open the season, and out of the way, you're, again, 2-0. Really fascinated a little bit tonight by Eric Musselman in the post-game press conference. I thought there was frustration in some of the things when he was talking about it. Their effort on the glass. I thought some of the players did a good job on the glass. Ellis, I didn't mention him yet. 13 points, 3 assists, only 1 turnover, but he had 6 rebounds. That's big for a 6'3" guard. That's your lead guard. Musselman expects that from his backcourt. So I thought Ellis did a good job. I mentioned Brazil. He had 10 points, 4-4 from the field. He's not rushing stuff. He's not forcing stuff. Playing his game, 4-4, 1 of 2 from 3. 1 of 1 from 3, 1 of 2 at the free throw line. So he had 10 points, 7 big rebounds to lead the team, to go with the 5 blocks. It was also a game high. So Brazil played his game tonight. I continue to be impressed with how he lets the game come to him and has such a big impact. And we're seeing it in multiple ways. We're seeing it defensively. Something he talked about in our preseason show, or our season preview show. He's talking about how he really wanted to be versatile defensively, and tonight against a small ball lineup of 4 guards on the court, it seemed like for the most part for Gardner-Webb. And so he had to go against some quicker guys and got some, blocked some shots in there. Gardner-Webb started really hot, 5 of 8. One of those was a 3, but really was getting downhill and attacking the basket. Arkansas was slow. And they took the fight to the Razorbacks and jumped out to that 13-5 lead. After that, Arkansas started altering shots and blocking shots. And you started to see Gardner-Webb take a lot more from 3. You're settling at that point. Again, 6 of 23. And they took, so you force them to take 23. Some games you're looking to minimize the attempts. Last game, Arkansas held Alcorn State 3 of 9, kept those attempts down. A team Musselman thought might catch fire from 3. On a night like this, when they started, when the running Bulldogs were attacking the basket and having their way early, you want to take that away. I thought Arkansas did a better job as the night went on of really making it trouble inside, contesting no shots. 15 blocks says all of it. Now you're making them shoot threes. They don't want to go in there. They're trying to find other ways to get on the board because Arkansas is making it really tough in that paint. Musselman was not happy with a lot of things, but this was a Gardner-Webb team that a season ago, 16th in the country in holding teams to 22 field goals per game in that inside the arc. Top 35 in 2-point field goal percentage, around 46%. Again, tonight Arkansas from 2, 23 of 42. That's a big time, so they beat the average that Gardner-Webb yielded last year by about a field goal. Not a lot there, but that efficiency almost doubled it. Not almost doubled it, but almost made it worth the fact that you didn't get a whole lot around the basket. You got 7 makes from 3, only 1 more than your opponent, but you took 5 less. You got to the free throw line 10 more times. So all the efficiency numbers really favored Arkansas when you compared both teams, but when you also compared what Gardner-Webb was able to do a year ago defensively, I thought Arkansas just kind of blew it out when you compared it that way. And with the blocks, everything else was kind of even or advantage Gardner-Webb. I think Musselman, one of the things he talked about was guys understanding their roles and maybe not taking heat check shots. He didn't mention anybody by name, but Devo Davis, 2 of 8 shooting tonight, 2 of 4 inside the arc for 4 points, but 0 of 4 from 3. None of them looked good. None of them looked close. None of them were in the flow of the offense. They were just kind of, I'm going to take this shot. Some of the decision-making shooting threes he had problems with through most of his career until he turned it around. I don't know if it was mid-season or midway last year, but he started to correct some of that, and he got better as a three-point shooter. He's taken several shots like that already this year when you go back to exhibition games and then so far in the 2 regular season games. So I think that might have been directed at Devo when he said that, but we know Devo does other things. 5 rebounds, a couple assists. He had a steal. Again, those 4 3-point shots, some of them were deep, but one was off the bounce. They weren't within the flow of ball movement, and they just didn't ever, when he was setting up to take him, it just didn't feel like that was the right shot, and they weren't real close either. So kind of having a hard time articulating that other than to say what I did. The bench scoring, going back to 40-19, we mentioned Battles 21. He had more than half of that. I mentioned Pinion with 5. Makai Mitchell with 5. And doing other things, I thought Makai had his best game so far when you combine the exhibition games and what the 2 regular season games so far. Chandler Lawson started everything. He started both exhibition games. He has started both regular season games. He ends up with 5 points. He was in and out. I think his role is still being figured out. I thought Jalen Graham did a great job in his minutes. 4 points, 2 of 3 from the field. He had 3 rebounds. And I liked some of the minutes that Graham gave him. I mentioned Ellis's game. Jamon Mark, we haven't talked about, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He had a block. He just does a little bit of everything. He was out for most of that 4th quarter. Came out. Arkansas had the game in command. It was a 20-plus point lead. He helped build out his mid-range game tonight. We know he went 4 of 6 from 3 in the previous game. That wasn't his game tonight. So he took it inside the arc where he's very capable. It's probably his strength. So I thought he did a really good job. There was a stretch there when Arkansas went on that 19-5 run to close out the first half. They were down 2 at that point, 31-29. Mark helped them in there. Brazil had 5 straight points somewhere in there, but Battle, man, it was 13 first half points. Caleb Battle had 10 points in that 19-5 run, and he gets it at all 3 levels. He gets to the free throw line. And he's really kind of a fearless guy. He's got that swagger. And if he has a mistake, he doesn't back down. He doesn't, kind of shy away from the next opportunity. He still seizes the moment and plays his game, and he plays within his strengths. Musselman talked about that post game. He probably had more good things to say about Battle than anybody. He was a little reluctant to pass around praise tonight, despite an 18-point win when Arkansas jumped ahead by 26. I understand that because I went through a lot of this, and Arkansas, while it felt like a game the team could have won by 30. I don't think Musselman was pleased with everything they got out of getting guys more opportunities to play and get some minutes under the belt. And I don't think he was pleased with several aspects of what he saw tonight. But so you got to love 2-0 if you're the head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Again, Old Dominion on Monday, Greensboro then on Friday of next week before you head off to battle for Atlantis and the Bahamas. Efficiency, we talk so much about Arkansas from three and how bad it was last year. Last game, 12 of 30 from three. You took only 18 tonight, and you made 7, so 39%. So, on some nights, Arkansas is going to have 5, 6, 7 guys that can competently step up and knock down a three. You might have 3 or 4 that have multiple threes. Tonight, it was a little more sparse, and Battle was really the guy that did the damage there. Lawson had a 3 late in the game that hit all parts of the rim and went in for him. Brazil made his only 3-point attempt. Sometimes it's going to be a night like that. And so when you have so many ways that you can attack and beat a team, this is a really good drive and mid-range shooting team for Arkansas. Battle's one of those guys. He had some of that tonight. I mentioned Mark and that strength. Ellis can do it. Devo's a couple of buckets, were that variety. And then you look at guys like, I think Graham, now that he's getting back and he's been efficient so far, he's really good. He's really good in that, that 10-foot and in, 15 feet and in when he puts the ball on the floor to get a drive working left or right and uses pivot. But once he gets 10 feet or in, that's when that shot's probably going up and that's probably going to go in. That's where he's really efficient, effective, and comfortable. And so you inside out, you've got different guys bringing something there. I'm still interested to see, again, Lawson after what he did in preseason exhibition games, not as much playing time, battling foul trouble tonight. The other night he got 8 minutes. So I think we're going to see better days for him. And he certainly, gave Arkansas some things tonight when he was on the court. Probably had a better game, obviously, tonight than he did against Alcorn State. Ellis, it was good to see him. I think this was kind of a bounce-back game for him. I still think there's some question marks for Arkansas in the lead guard spot from start to finish. There's times where Ellis, it's that score takes over. But, you can't argue tonight with 3 assists and only 1 turnover. And I thought the 6 rebounds were huge. So I thought it was a bounce-back game for Ellis after a couple of subpar games when you look at lead guard duties. So I thought he was better there. Didn't leave anybody out here, I don't think. I mentioned Pinion in his little run. Bay Fall played extended minutes in the second half. He got an opportunity tonight. 4 rebounds. He ended up in the block party. I think he had 1. Graham got in there. Several guys blocked it. So I think just about everybody in Arkansas's front line, because Mitchell had the 4, Brazil had 5. I don't know if Denaje Harris got 1 or not. Need to go back and look at the individual block shots again. I know Mark had 1. I think Pinion had 1, actually. Pinion seemed like he had a block. But it was, this was one of the areas in the game where Arkansas was dominant. Bench scoring, block shots, and then the discrepancies. Again, I go through the field goal for 3-point and free throws. When you add it all up, even though the free throw wasn't great, the efficiency was still better than the opponent. So putting all that together, it explains an 18-point win. We're not going to spend as much time on it tonight because it's late. I'm getting close to the 20-minute mark. I do want to say we had a pregame today. We covered some of this stuff. I thought that Arkansas had an opportunity to have another one of those 30-point wins. That didn't happen, but it could have. I think Musselman decided in this game to let his key players go ahead and, not only now once they had command to maybe play a little bit longer, stay on the court a little bit longer together. This is at least a 20-plus point win, probably, maybe 30. But you understand why. I said it in the pregame. He wants as many of these first 4 games as he can to get a look at everybody, look at different combinations, hopefully get everybody out there. And it was a decision he made. I mean, the first half when Arkansas was back and forth, part of that was Lawson's foul trouble, Mackay coming in. You knew Battle would be checking in pretty soon. But Graham gets in. Jeremiah Davenport was in that early group. He had a 3 tonight, by the way. Haven't talked about him. So Jeremiah Davenport's in that early group. And then Pinion comes in. I mentioned the 5 straight points he had. So Arkansas worked 10 players into the game in that first half. Then Bayfall, I mentioned his extended run in the second half. Then Najee Harris. No blocker tonight. I'll repeat it if you weren't here on HogvilleNET YouTube Live with me. Post-game analysis. Blocker wasn't in the building tonight. He's had an illness. Mostman talked about it post-game. I kept wondering when I didn't see him on the bench or warm-ups or any of that through the game, before the game and then through the game, obviously. But blocker, so he was out. So 12 scholarship players, both walk-ons got in. All right, so we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody who did join me this late. I'm going to finish the game story, add some quotes and more details and stats to that. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET YouTube Live post-game analysis. Number 14, Arkansas takes care of business at home. 86-68 over a feisty, scrappy Gardner-Webb team out of the Big South Conference. 2-0 for the Razorbacks. Until Monday, when Arkansas hosts Old Dominion, we'll have a pregame and a postgame once again. See you then.